All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Falcon Punch cast. It is me, Mr. Falcon Punch, aka Shaheen, and I am joined with Darth Messiah, aka Hamza.
Yeah, it is me. It is I. Hello.
And we've had like a little bit of I guess not a recording delay, but it's been a while since we last uploaded or recorded an episode.
2 weeks, I think.
It feels longer, but that's probably because because I recently came back from a vacation to Hawaii with the family, which was pretty good, even though it kind of helped me realize a couple things about myself.
Oh God.
I mean, it's probably not as deep as I made that sound, but like I love the beach aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
I love walking by the beach. Mm-hmm. The actual act of being in a beach, I do not like. I absolutely hate it. I just hate the sand getting everywhere.
And it gets everywhere.
Yeah, it really does get everywhere. Dude, like I do not know how it happened. I'm honestly shocked. I do not understand how it happened. But I remember because we bought like some snorkeling gear. And so we went to a couple beaches that were recommended for snorkeling. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it's when we went, it was like really overcast or something, but we really couldn't see much in like a lot of the beaches we went to. Like I could get a glimpse of a fish swimming in the bottom of the ocean floor, but not that much. Mm-hmm. But like I got knocked back by a couple waves because like the water was pretty choppy when we're going snorkeling. And I'm not the best with deep water due to a bad experience I had when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like staying more in the shallow end, but I kept on getting knocked back. When we went back to our Airbnb that day, when we came back from like our first day at the beach and like I took off my swimming trunks, like I'm not even kidding you, man. Like a bucket of sand just dropped out of my ass. I'm like, I did not feel it at my swimming trunks at all. And like I even when we came back home, I still feel like I was picking sand off my body. Oh, and like I showered very thoroughly, but like sand would keep on appearing. I think even like in the Airbnb, like after I took a shower and everything, I took a nap, and when I woke up, there was like a little like handful of sand that was like on my bed. I'm like, how does this possible? Sand's annoying. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of deep water. Salt water is annoying because it always gets in my eyes. So. Yeah, I don't know.
I love your eyes. Okay.
Somehow, like even with when I have the snorkels on, like a little bit of it will get into my eyes and will start stinging. Like, man, the beach is overrated, man. I love the aesthetic. Like, I love walking by the beach, eating something refreshing, listening to like some city pop or jazz fusion. Yeah. That's my ideal. I love breathing the ocean air. All that's fantastic. And it looks cool, and I love all of that. But for me, being actually on a beach is very annoying.
I've had several times salt water gets into my mouth, and that sucks because it's like it tastes horrible. But yeah, like okay, so you want to be on that concrete path that walks by the beach, look at it, but be in your flip flops and just keep going.
Yeah, like I, just have like, eat some pineapple or some ice cream or something and just like look at the water. Maybe it could be a nice sunset. I mean, like one of my first jobs I ever had was at a beach resort in San Diego.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and then like that job wasn't bad. It was like a retail job at the hotel, which, a lot of people complain about retail. I was a bit lucky since it was a beach resort. People were generally more chill. Like I would get a couple random crazy people. The crazy people really didn't start popping out till like COVID happened. COVID, I think, was a big reason why like I decided to get out as soon as possible from the hospitality industry because like people became more psychopaths to service industry people.
I mean, that's true. That's at least been reported everywhere, especially in like retailing, airline. Just people have just like I don't know what happened after COVID.
Yeah, they like just became unleashed. But yeah, so like it was good, but like there was a couple days where like work was tough, or I had like a manager that was a little too like micromanagey and would like get really annoying. But like no matter how like stressed out I would feel about that job, as soon as I would exit my shift because I had like a closing shift like 1 to 9. when I would come back, I would just hear like the ocean in the background and the seagulls. I'm like, you know what? I could do this again tomorrow. So like, there's something refreshing about it. But like me actually being on the beach, I'm like, no, I can't fuck the beach. The beach should be looked at, not experienced. Which I think would actually do a lot good for nature. That was a rule of thumb. But regardless, I do envy people that could get more enjoyment out of the beach. But for me, it's always a negative experience. Actually, one time as a kid, I literally did get the snot knocked out of me at the beach. Yeah, I was like I was probably like 10 or 12, and this like massive wave came and like knocked me out, and like it knocked me from like where the water was to like the sand. Mm-hmm. And like I legitimately remember like snot just pouring out of my nose after I got hit. I'm like, I literally got the snot beat out of me. I've never had that experience, but I just remember being so freaked out because that wave just like sucker punched me.
The ocean's like, no, get out.
Yeah, you're not wanted here. And then from
Falcon punch, well, I'll Falcon punch you.
Yeah, I got Falcon punched by water, and I think since then I've been like, you know what, beaches are. Yeah, and then after that, I went camping on the beach, and I had like one of the most uncomfortable sleeps I've ever had in my life.
I can't imagine that. Camping on a beach? Fuck that.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times. I remember there was one good thing about it because like I went with a friend and we were just playing with our DSs until we passed out. We were playing like the Super Mario Bros. DS. Mm-hmm. But in the actual act of sleeping, I could not get a proper night's rest on the beach because like the sand was like uneven. Mm-hmm. So like. Yeah, it was not good, but yeah. So beaches are just not my thing. I'm not sure if that's a hot take.
Now watch like a slice of life, like moe anime about girls on the beach. Now,
see, the thing is, I don't. Like I said, I love the beach aesthetic. Like those are some of my favorite levels in a Mario game or like Sonic game, like the beach levels. I love looking at it and the aesthetic of it. It's just for me personally being on the beach, I'm just like that's a no, that's a big no for me.
Okay, well, I've had fun on the beach, but again, like I haven't experienced it recently. Like it's been a while since I've been to the beach, so yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that. Maybe I'll realize the same thing. Or maybe I'll be the opposite. I'm like, no. I will live in the ocean.
Yeah, I'll live in the ocean. I love having sand all over me.
Oh, I hated that. That I could relate to. I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I'm a desert boy. You know, I've been in a lot of deserts in my life. I've spent most of my life in deserts. And for some reason, I think it's because you get wet. That like the sand, because like I remember like I used to like go jogging in like the desert area where I used to live in Dubai, and I didn't have sand all over me, but when you're at the beach, it just finds a way to get everywhere. Like places where I'm like, that part of my body didn't even touch the sand. How is this possible? Like,
did you buy any Hawaiian shirts or wear any Hawaiian shirts?
I did. The thing is, I felt kind of like bad because like someone at like one of my workplaces are like, oh, that's such like dad wear. But like after COVID, like during COVID, I'm like, you know what? I want to brighten up my wardrobe. So I bought a lot of Hawaiian shirts for myself. And I just like how like colorful and vibrant they are. Mm-hmm. And then someone was just like, yeah, that's such dad fashion. I'm like, oh.
Well, fuck you.
Yeah, well, fuck you. You know, I'm tired of wearing dark clothes that are not vibrant or express like relax. Again, see, I like the vibes. You know, that's something that has that beach vibe. I love that. But yeah, I did wear a couple Hawaiian. I didn't buy any. Dude, Hawaii is expensive as hell.
Oh, like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's pretty pricey in certain areas. Like I think the McDonald's, it was like $15 for like a Big Mac. Which is a lot more than it costs normally. But it was very
okay. That seems okay. Then it'll be $20 in Canadian. So yeah, that'll be that is a bit too much for a meal or just a Mac
for a meal.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I mean, still that is quite a lot. Like
a lot, yeah.
Oh, it was also funny. We went to this random Thai restaurant in Hawaii, but the way of getting into this restaurant was so weird because like I think I was over with my parents, and they were like, we're all hungry. I'm like, you know what? Let's have some like. We were looking for a Chinese restaurant, but we somehow went to a Thai restaurant because like that's what Yelp recommended. But like the parking lot for this place was like under construction, so it was kind of like really difficult to like get to it, and the place didn't have signs. So my dad, like according to directions, was like by like this door. So like he went in and knocked on the door, and he waited for a bit, and this like guy kind of pops his head out. He's like, "Are you here for the restaurant?" And my dad's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, one moment." He's like, "Is your whole party with you?" And my dad's like, "No." He's like, "Okay, we can't bring people in without the whole party. Go get them." And then like he pops back in and like closes the door. My dad's like,
what is this? This sounds like you're gonna like a drug deal's about to take place.
That is exactly what my dad was thinking of. He was like, what are they putting in this restaurant? So like my dad comes back, gets us, and we go to the restaurant. From the door he opened, that was the door for the bathroom area. Then he walked us to the door like a couple feet away, and he's like, "Okay, sit down here. This is the restaurant." So goes in, and it's like a bunch of chairs, and then there's like a window, and then he's like, "Yeah, you place your order at the window, and then we'll bring out the food to you super fast." And it was such an awkward experience, just because like nothing was matching up, and then like the food was great though, but like the way it was delivered to the table was like it was all takeout style. Like nothing in the restaurant made sense. And then like it was a Thai restaurant, but it was like filled with like 80s memorabilia of like James Bond and Back to the Future. Like if you walked into the restaurant, you would not tell it was like a Thai restaurant.
What is this place?
I have no idea. Like it was so weird. It was, but the food was really good. Probably like the best food we had during that vacation. That wasn't shaved ice. But yeah, it was.
Trying to figure out. So you went to the bathroom door somehow as the entrance.
Yeah, and I'm like, why was he there? And he was the manager / server, but kind of not really because you ordered at like the small little like to go window. It was weird, and like all the food was like takeout. Like they had no proper silverware or everything, and I don't know. And the fact that the bathroom is like not even connected to the restaurant, you have to go outside the restaurant, walk like a minute, then go into another door, and then there's the bathroom. It was a very weird setup. It was. I was getting worried. I'm like, is this actual like? Are we going to be okay eating this food? And it was the middle of like this place that was just like rampant with construction. Like the place didn't even look like fully developed. So it was really.
Were you guys the only?
There's a couple other people there, and like, but they were all tourists too. I'm like, well, we're like in this tourist trap, and we're like going to get all like. But no, the food was surprisingly really good. It was just, which I guess is always like the best type of places to go to when you're on vacation. Like those little like hole in the walls that secretly have really good food that like, are not like heavily talked about.
Those places where you get street food or like, again, like you said, those hole in the wall places apparently that just somehow always have the best food. Yeah, I agree. Instead of the big fancy advertised like restaurants. Yeah.
Yeah, because like some of these places, like I remember we were walking around and it was like, yeah, here's like $30 for like a small sized pizza. I'm like, nah. $15 for a loaf of banana bread. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm sorry. But yeah, so that was my Hawaii vacation, and then of course when we came back, we made sure to go see John Wick 4.
Yeah. So how did you feel about it?
It was pretty solid. Like as a whole, the John Wick movies are like probably some of the best like American action movies we've gotten.
Yes, I do agree. I think this is a long movie though, 3 hours though.
See, like that was the thing because like it almost didn't feel like 3 hours to me. Like, it went
by really fast. I think because you're like so engaged with the action. We'll talk about that in a bit, but like. I was like, man, this went by quick. Because so I watched Cocaine Bear as well. Cocaine Bear is much shorter, like,
right? Yeah,
but that had quite a for a movie called Cocaine Bear. There was quite a bit of drag, and I was like, can we go back to the bear? Like, what's happening with the bear? I don't really care about these humans. Can we go back to the bear? And then like. So that one I felt like, oh man, I feel this 2 hours, but 3 hours of John Wick just zipped by. like which I think is a good sign that like hey, you could just enjoy the movie regardless of how long it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty like the one part like where I felt like, oh, okay, I'm surprised that we did this because I feel like, I mean, I guess it works with the overall flow of the story, kind of, but like when he had to go like prove himself to his family, so
Oh,
he has to go on that side mission, kind
one
of.
second. Do we get into spoilers or no?
Uh, hmm. Well, by the
Yeah.
time this podcast comes out, we are. Let's see. The movie would have been out for a few, like a month by the
Like a
time we get
month.
in.
Okay, but like we're just giving you. If you haven't seen John Wick 4, go watch it, then come back to this. Yeah, so we're going to go into spoilers.
Yeah, I guess if you're on YouTube, I'll probably timestamp it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're a Spotify listener how that works out.
Hello, Falcon here. So if you want to avoid the John Wick 4 spoilers, go ahead and skip to 34 minutes. That's pretty much what we're done with it.
We're going to go into spoilers. So yeah, you were saying about like him trying to prove to his family.
Like in order to have that like duel, he had to like go to Germany to prove, like kill that one German like mafia boss guy.
Yeah, Scott Adkins in a fat suit.
Yeah, see, I remember I heard Scott Adkins was going to be in the movie. I'm like, which character did he play? And then later I'm like, oh my god, that was him.
They're like, when he showed up, I'm like, I've seen this guy before. I know his face. I don't know where.
So I remember thinking, I'm like, damn, this fat guy got moves. I'm like, oh, okay, so he wasn't really like a big guy.
Yeah, because I was like, I've seen him somewhere before. And then I'm like, wait, is that Scott? No, that can't be. He looks like Scott Adkins if he like ate a lot. But and then after like he started like pulling off like those kicks and stuff, I'm like, oh, that is definitely Scott Adkins. He was in a fat suit the whole time. Oh my god, which was amazing. Oh god, I love that fight. That man, I was like, let's take Scott Adkins, let him fight John Wick, one of the best like stunt martial arts people. Scott Adkins. He has also like I want to see Accident Man really badly as well for him.
Yeah, I guess see more of his stuff soon.
Yeah, I've seen what is it? I think it's called Undisputed Boyka, like his Boyka series. I love that. But like, yeah, this one I'm like, they really put him in a fat suit. My God, I wonder how hard it was to like pull off those moves with all those prosthetics. Like, geez,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was pretty intense. But like, I'm surprised we did that because at first I'm like, this feels like a side mission in a video game. But I'm like, okay. But like the whole it so led to a lot of great moments, and then I was also very pleasantly surprised that like Donnie Yen's character was like had a lot of screen time, because for some reason I thought I'm like, okay, he's just going to be there for like a fight and he's just going to die, or like we move on. He's not going to be like that.
He's a
major character.
Yeah. That's like, man, when he was fighting, just like, oh my god! Because I've seen all the Ip Man movies and I love them. Man, he is just a master of his craft, Donnie, and just like how fast paced he was and how interesting he was because he's blind. So like the methods he used, like sticking things to those walls, so like when they walk by, it's a ping.
Oh yeah, that was so cool. Yeah,
yeah. Seriously, it was very surprisingly a funny movie as well. Like the whole audience laughed many times at stuff. And either the cleverness of the movie, or when it was actually funny, like Scott Adkins in a fat suit and the way he like makes his face,
right?
Or his accent when he's stuck like, "You want to kill him, I want to kill him, he wants to kill him." Yeah.
So I think my audience mostly laughed whenever like John Wick would talk, because I think someone calculated it. He only has like 380 words in a 3-hour movie, and he's the main character.
I mean, that's been a thing every time. Yeah, he says exactly what needs to be said and nothing more. Like, with
I just like most of his lines are like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh god! I also enjoyed like the main villain because of how little shit he was and like how he was being like pushed back by John Wick and his craziness. I really enjoyed Ian McShane, the hotel manager. I was really sad that like Lance Reddick died. Rest in peace, my man. Like, he was like really enjoyable, really, really good actor, really fun. I really like they dedicated to him at the end of the credits. But yeah, like even his part where he was like really hamming it up, like, man, John Wick, please do this for me. Oh my god! And Lawrence Fishburne, the guy who's in charge of the homeless assassins, he was having like the best time ever. What do you want on your tombstone? King.
Yeah.
And then Ian McShane, like, oh, how humble.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, it was good. Also, like another thing that got a lot of the audience that I went to go see the movie with was like the whole thing with the stairs.
Oh yeah. Okay, so like they showed the stairs, and then like he goes all the way up. I'm like, okay, fine, we're done with the stair sequence. Like it's over. Like, okay, he's got it. I'm going to move on to the end, and then the movie's going to end. When he kicked him back down, the whole audience, including me, gasped.
Yeah. But then it happened again, and we're like, no. Like, no. Like, you just can't do that.
I wonder how they came up, because like, so if you've watched the Honest trailer, they actually brought on the directors of John Wick, discussed the film. I think this was during John Wick 2, when John Wick 2 was coming out. So you know that scene in John Wick 2 where they're in that like train station tunnel thing, and they're shooting each other with silent pistols, and they keep it, but nobody notices. So apparently, one of the directors was in that strange, just like location scan, like, okay, where can we do an action scene and stuff, right? So he accidentally tripped and fell, and people, without even thinking about it or acknowledging him, like no one tried to help him, they just walked around him or just walked past him. So he's like, holy shit, you could shoot guns in here and nobody would notice. And then that idea clicked into their it clicked into their head. So I wonder, like, what happened? They just like saw the stairs and they're like, let's do an action scene. But wait, what if you fell down? Oh, what if you fell down twice? Yeah. Although he should have been dead when he fell down those stairs. That's the thing.
I mean, there's a lot of points in this movie where like John Wick should have been dead.
Yeah. So as I was watching the movie, people like so Shaheen has complained to me so much about the ending of John Wick 3, where he falls down the building and still somehow survives. He has complained to me a lot about that scene. Like, why is he alive? He should have been dead. There's no way a man could survive.
It's way too cartoony. I'm like, my man should be dead. That should have ended.
So when I was watching this movie, the entire time I'm like, oh, Shaheen's gonna have a lot of problems with this. He gets hit by a car here. He falls down the stairs here. He falls off a building.
He falls off another building.
Another building. Like, I think lands on a car.
My man is a superhuman.
I mean, he is Baba Yaga. So.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, the only thing keeping him alive is just vengeance.
God, yeah. I like how like people were like challenging him, like, John Wick, what's your end game here? Like, where's this gonna go? Like, okay, you killed the High Table, and there's gonna be just more assassins, or like you're gonna have like your bounty is gonna go to up to like 10 billion. Like, what's gonna like more people will come after you? Like, where's your end game?
Yeah, I know, it was pretty ridiculous, especially like the whole set piece in France, especially like with like kind of like every wave. It's like, okay, the bounty is going up more.
Yeah. I loved Mr. Nobody's character.
Oh yeah, that was a really good addition.
Yeah, I enjoyed his fight scenes. Enjoyed the dog. Everybody loved the dog in my theater, especially my sister.
Of course, yeah.
When he went for the nuts of that guy who like hit the dog, like, everybody was like very satisfied.
Right.
Yeah. Oh god, it was really enjoyable. My favorite fight scene was I have two. One is when John Wick got the gun that explodes.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite.
And they did like a top-down camera shot, and you can see like I'm like, oh my god, this looks like a video game. This looks so cool.
Yeah, no, there is a video game that basically plays like that. What's it called? Like Hotline Miami. I'm like, oh my god, they just turned that into like live action. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was cool. Like, how did you do that in real life? Because like because they weren't in an actual like building. I guess they built that set maybe or something like that. And then like that was one, and then probably the Continental in Osaka, like that fight scene with all the samurai and like the and all that, and then like his first fight with Donnie Yen with the nunchucks and everything like that. My favorite part was like when he like fell down, he was like staying exactly still to make Donnie Yen think he's dead, and because he makes the slightest sound, Donnie Yen's going to come after him. Like that was a really cool scene. And then, oh my god, it was so many good action scenes in that movie. It was so good.
It really is like, because sometimes when a movie goes after 3, you're kind of like, oh, maybe they're going a little too, might not live up. But I feel like the John Wick movies nicely like build off on each other and escalate to the point where like, because I know like, oh, we are getting to spoilers because like John Wick essentially kind of dies at the end of the movie.
No, I'm glad that this is the last John Wick one. There is
Right.
rumors. I'm not sure if it's rumors. Somebody told me. I'm not. Again, I haven't fact checked this yet. So if it's wrong, it's wrong. They're going to make a spin-off of somebody else in the John Wick universe. Because like, remember in John Wick, I think it was 2. That Russian family he was a part of with all those like assassin ballerinas and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, they're going to make a spin-off about one of the ballerinas. Apparently, I wouldn't mind a spin-off about. So there's another character in this, Hiroki Sanada, who's the manager of the Osaka Continental, and he's always amazing. He's pretty much a badass and everything. He was in another movie called Bullet Train, which is also another awesome action movie. I highly recommend.
Oh yeah, I need to see that one.
Yeah, it's really good, really funny, really good. My favorite Brad Pitt movie, probably. Yeah. Hiroki Sanada, like he always plays a samurai something in almost every movie. But yeah, in this one he's really good. His daughter, I wouldn't mind seeing like a spin-off of her because she was pretty interesting, and like I really liked her conflicts. Like, because she is right though, he died because of John Wick, her father.
Right.
Yeah, and then John Wick's like, yeah.
pretty much like, yeah, I need guns.
God, yeah. Jeez. So yeah, maybe a spin-off of her because she had she looked good like in her fight scene. She had very few, but what she had was amazing. Also, I think there was another pencil scene, wasn't there? I think Donnie ended this time, wasn't it? He killed someone.
Right, I think so. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you got it. So yeah, that was. So yeah, I wouldn't mind because this universe is interesting. It's a bit ridiculous because I'm like, how many secret assassins are there? Because I remember that one scene that in John Wick, I think it was 2 or 3, where he's in that park and everybody in the park is an assassin.
Yeah, like that's why like, I kind of wondered if the movies kept on expanding. I'm like, is the whole world just cool with this? Because like after everything that's gone down, I don't think this is secret. Like, it's just the world.
Well, yeah, how do they keep it? Like, how do you explain? Oh yeah, there was a bunch of people fighting in that French roundabout, and it's like, or like that building exploded, or like they were like 13 car crashes.
Yeah, even like in Parabellum when they're all after him in the beginning, and like he's like horse riding across New York. I'm like, how do you keep this secret? Because especially like when all the homeless people are like an organization.
Yeah, because like John Wick 1, it's always like it's in a building, it's inside the building, or it's an abandoned construction site or something. So it's like, okay, it's in areas where like nobody's there and it's isolated and stuff. But like as the movies go on, it takes place in basically the main area, like main areas of the cities. So like, yeah,
because like even in the first movie, like the police kind of knew who John Wick was because like,
oh yeah,
when he had that shootout in his house, he's like, oh, you back in business? Yeah.
And then he's just 2 words, just visiting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a great. Well, not trilogy. What do you call like 4 movies?
Quadrilogy.
Yeah, it's a good quadrilogy or if that's the word, of movies.
Yeah.
I think the director.
Oh, sorry.
I think the director and Keanu Reeves said like they're good for now. But
how will they? What do you mean good for now? You can't bring him back. How do you like?
I'm pretty because like some people are like, oh, well, you didn't really see the body, like even though you kind of did. The thing is, like, I kind of don't want him to come back because like
the story's done.
He
like the
his
fact
arc
that we got because after the first 2, I was like, not first 2, no. Oh, okay. So it is confusing because the 2 leads into 3 because 2 is where he shoots the guy in the the New York Continental, so that leads to 3.
Right.
And then 3, he falls off a building, so they do lead into each other, which is cool. Well, I think John Wick 1 is the only one that's like pretty isolated.
Right.
But like, yeah, so like 2 leads into 3, which leads into 4. So, but like, I think like we've hit the limit of like this guy like coming back because his dog died. I think we've hit the end. Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
because like I said in the movie, like, where are you gonna go? Like, even if you kill like the top table, the high table, like really is that? And also like that's gonna be pretty difficult. I mean, again, he's John Wick. I get it, but like, come on, like you're really gonna hit the head of this like criminal organization? Like,
yeah, I think he's like hit like the limit, and then also like story wise, he did his thing, and then like even like that daughter character said, her father died because of him. Like, obviously his journey was pretty reckless and everything.
Yeah.
So like,
and also like that
guy,
like clear, like Sonata's character, like is like, no, he's a friend. I'll do whatever it takes. So yeah, but like again, like a lot of damage, carnage. He's thrown along the way. Yeah.
Right. It was a pretty reckless journey to get to where he eventually wound up. And see, at first I thought they were going to do the thing kind of like in that Batman movie where like he's supposedly dead and you just see him chilling at a cafe somewhere. And then he just like quietly retires. Right. Like, oh, I'm done. Like, I'm officially out. Which that would have been fine, but like him just dying too. I'm like, you know what? I think that also kind of wraps up neatly.
And also,
man
like, I
had
think,
so much blood on his hands, and like the cycle of vengeance is done.
I think it also like satisfying because, like, again, like we said, this dude gets hit by multiple cars. He falls down so many flights of stairs. Like, I think they said like 220 steps or whatever.
Right.
He falls off multiple buildings, gets shot at, so much, gets like, stabbed, punched, kicked, whatever, everywhere. If he ended up living through that, I would be like, okay, like, because like we said, after 3, him falling off a building.
This man needs to be studied in like a science lab. Like he has some kind of like super soldier serum in him. Like,
he has that Baba Yaga power, man.
Yeah, Baba Yaga power.
Yeah, I mean, like in the first movie when they were like he killed 3 men in a bar with a pencil. It's already like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But then they show it like he actually killed people with a pencil. I'm like, all right, then you made that look somehow believable. Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like it works, and then I'm pretty sure if he was alive, there'd be someone still looking to go kill him.
Yeah,
so the cycle of vengeance would have kept on going. So with him gone, like the cycle of vengeance is officially like it's done. It's complete. In a sense, there's still some people that are looking for vengeance, but like in terms of John Wick's side of the whole deal, it's done.
Yeah, John Wick's side of the deal, it's done. Yeah, and like that was my favorite line in the movie. It's like, what do you want in your tombstone? And him saying, "Loving husband," was like just mwah, perfection. Yeah,
yeah.
My sister I was watching her, Ashley went, "Aw." Yeah. So yeah, John Wick 4. What was your favorite action scene? Like the Hotline Miami, like above.
That was probably my favorite. And that shotgun was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's real or not. Yeah, I'm wondering too.
Yeah, just cut the bullet in like a certain way, and then you it'll just explode when you fire.
See, in my head, because I've also been reading comic books. I'm like, oh, it's like Ghost Rider's Hellfire shotgun. In my head, I refer to it as the Hellfire shotgun scene, but I'm pretty sure that's not what it's called. But
I like that. Like I like how like because we talked about something off camera. I like how our pop culture thing is like influencing like our thoughts about real life.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, it's like the Hellfire shotgun.
I mean, that happens to me a lot. In like moments that like do not need that kind of thought. I'm like, oh, it's just like this. Like I remember a couple years ago, I got into a pretty nasty car accident, and I broke and fractured my left wrist, and they had to put metal inside of it in order to repair my wrist. And like the first thing that when I come out of surgery, I'm like, oh, I'm like a common writer.
Oh, okay.
Cyber hands.
You went Kamen Rider. I went, oh, it's like, oh, he's Vash now.
Oh, see that was his whole both doesn't make. Oh no, the worst is like I remember one time I woke up in the middle of the night and for some reason I felt like I had something in my throat, so I spit it out, and I'm not sure if I was tired or not. It looked like blood, which should be alarming for a lot of people. My dumbass first thought was like, oh, just like All Might.
Oh my god!
Then I wash it down the sink and go back to sleep, and then I wake up the next day. I'm like, am I sick? And like I remember I kept on checking my throat. I'm like, is there something red in there? Why was I still to this day do not know what happened. I'm not sure if it was even red to begin with, but obviously I'm still fine and perfectly healthy because that was like 5 years ago at this point. But I just like how that was my first thought. I'm like, oh. So if I ever fall off a building and survive, I'll be like, oh, just like John Wick.
John Wick. I mean, we talked about it. Like, so I'm into card games, and like, you know, a convention, Anime North, is coming up in Canada, and so like I won't be there because I'll be on vacation. But I was asking the game store owner, like, "Oh, are you going to be there? Are you going to do a Digimon tournament?" It's like, "Well, no, we're doing Vanguard and Yu-Gi-Oh. There's going to be another store that does Digimon." Because the way the convention works is like they divide up, like each store does a different game. So like somebody else is going to handle Digimon, somebody else is going to handle Magic, and we can't have like two competing stores doing their own tournaments, and so it's going to confuse people. So everybody does one like different thing. So in my head, after watching Akiba Made More, I'm like, I wonder if the game stores have a secret, like I don't know, fights going on where they try to kill each other for the rights to play or make tournaments for the Digimon for like card games like that are popular and stuff. I'm like, what? Yeah, so that's my version of that. Like, oh, it's just like the anime.
It's just like the anime. Yeah.
They obviously don't, but that would be really. I can't imagine my game store workers like being like, I don't know, holding guns and firing shit.
Just randomly going into the other store. You don't belong here. This is for taking our stock in Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Or like it would be, oh my god, it would be like Kaiji maybe. Like have the highest stakes possible when playing the card game. Like if you lose this, you lose your store and your fingers.
You lose his hand in Pokemon and
oh yeah, he loses his hand because he lost in Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh, that has to. Oh man, that should be an anime or something, or like I don't know, something.
Yeah. High stakes card game.
High stakes. Like I'm not talking about like like poker or whatever. Like no, because I've seen that. Everybody's seen that. No, I'm talking like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering.
Well, I guess Yu-Gi-Oh kind of does that. Like I know in GX there's like underground duels in which like
of course there is.
Every time you lose your life points, you get shocked.
What? Oh my god!
And then if you lose, they just zaps you to death. And like this one character that like started off as like a really like cool like character that people looked up to, he loses, he goes trains in the underground and he just starts becoming really edgy. And when he dude, he literally goes into like a temple in the mountains where they trained like to duel, and like you know how like in kung fu movies, like you know you follow the instructor and you mimic his moves.
Yeah.
So in this school, instead of like punching and kicking, it's just them like pulling out the cards so they could do the fastest draws. Which I'm like, I don't even think that does anything in the card game.
Yeah, but like you shuffle it, it's random. Like what the fuck?
No, just like get the cleanest draws. And like I remember there's this one character in an earlier episode that was like trying to train like his luck to draw better cards, which I don't think that's a thing you can actually do, but he went into the jungle and became Tarzan in order to do that. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! I think is the closest. I mean, even early Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, the whole shadow games. You know,
true. Yeah. I guess true.
Yeah, but I just love the GX. It's just like there's these underground duels where people bet money on and like get shocked.
God, remember, it's just I imagine that. I really need to watch these Yu-Gi-Oh! Because like as someone again, I'm coming from the trading card game first. So I know the rules, I know how to play, and I know like what it takes and stuff. But then like hearing what the anime does, it's like, What the fuck?
I mean, I know in the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime and manga, there's a lot of things a lot of pro Yu-Gi-Oh card game players are like, you can't do that in the game. But I'm like, yeah, shut up, nerd. It looks cooler in the anime anyway. Because like in the one of the first arcs that like heavily revolves itself around like the Duel Monsters game, which is funny because like obviously in universe it's not called Yu-Gi-Oh. It's called Duel Monsters, but like outside of it, it's just called Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, outside of it, yeah, just call Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Yeah,
because Yu-Gi-Oh is just referring to the main character Yugi being the king of card games, which also is weird when all the spin-offs were like Yugi's not even around. I'm like, why is it still called Yu-Gi-Oh?
I mean, that's just what the brand is called.
Yeah, it's the brand name at this point, but like in universe, it doesn't really make the highest amount of sense. But like during the whole Duelist Kingdom arc, like this one guy like has he covers the field with like ocean water because he has like an ocean themed deck, and it increases like his monster's ability to like hide and attack.
That really surprised me because in the game, like that doesn't matter. That doesn't factor in at all. And then like I think some YouTuber made fun of it where it's like they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh on the grass and you put like a ground like earth monster. And it's like, oh, I get plus 1000 DP because we're playing on the grass.
Yeah, because like early Yu-Gi-Oh, like early on, you'd play like on a map, and depending on where you would put your, because again, like the game was being thought of and made as the series was continuing.
Yeah.
So like not everything was like put into place right away. So it's like really interesting seeing the series kind of like evolve throughout time, because before like you could just like put out Exodia on your like second or third move, whereas now it's like, oh no, you have to like sacrifice a monster before you summon a monster with a certain amount of stars or whatever, or like how certain things work. And then obviously the whole dueling system with like the dual discs. Before it was like an actual disc you would have to throw out, then the hologram will pop out and the disc will come back, until eventually we got like the cool, like, I don't know what you call it, but like the way the dual discs are now, where you just put all the cards on the disc and they look like weapons. Like you look like honestly, the way some of the dual discs look now, you look like you could probably decapitate someone with.
That's what I said, because like, again, I come from the trading card game first, so then I was like just looking at like anime images and stuff, because like people still care about the characters, like Kaiba and all of those guys, and Yugi and like Joey and whatever. So like like it's from a nostalgia. So I'm just looking at that and I'm like, what the fuck is that he has in his arm? Like, what? I
mean, honestly, like some of the characters are pretty good. Like at least like original Yu-Gi-Oh, I still think Seto Kaiba is like one of the greatest like rival characters ever. The man is like the most petty character I've ever seen in my life, and it's glorious. All for a cards game, this man is like willing to like advance human technology.
Yeah, I remember when I got my first ever Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Just for the record, I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I only play Master Duel Online because I can't afford. There's only so many TCGs I can afford together. So I got the Cyber Dragon structure deck, and then I sent a picture to Shaheen, and he's like, "Oh my god, you have this character's like deck."
And speaking of, that was the character that went to do the underground dueling.
Oh, and he died?
No, he doesn't. I don't think he dies, but like he trains, and then he becomes edgy. Then he goes to like a temple in the mountains to fight his own.
Oh god!
And apparently, in that temple, there was like a box hidden within that had like the power up version of the Cyber Dragon.
I forgot the name.
Cyber End Dragon.
Yeah, Cyber End Dragon. Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh my god, this series is so fucking ridiculous. I love it so much. Like that's why it was so jarring going from GX to 5Ds, because 5Ds takes itself a little bit more seriously. And I'm just like, oh wait, no, there's no goofy like monkey that plays the card game now. Because in GX they're like training a monkey to play the card game.
I don't get, like, okay, so you can buy the cards in a store, because I remember that Yugi, they go to a store and that's where they find Blue Eyes White Dragon. That's where it is. But like, then you have like Cyber End Dragon at a temple secretly kept there. So like you can't buy that, or you can. I don't. What is that? Like I don't
see. That's one thing. Like in the universe, I'm not too sure, because in the original card game. I mean, in the original manga, it's revealed that the person that created the game in universe, Pegasus, an American guy who went to Egypt, kind of got the idea from the game because the ancient Egyptians used to play something similar to Duel Monsters, in which they had these stone tablets that would summon actual monsters that they sealed into those tablets. Yeah. So a couple of like those super awesome cards were like things that got into his head. Is like, oh, you have to like physically manifest us, but like Pegasus had to like hide them because they're too powerful. But like in later incarnations of Yu-Gi-Oh, when you have like in GX, there's like the first big story arc has like rip-off versions of the Egyptian god cards. Then, you know, there's these other special cards that like can bring light and darkness to the universe. There's these other cards that manifest from other dimensions or aliens from outer space. And then in 5Ds, there's these like special dragons from like ancient Aztec empires, I think is what they were trying to go for. So it becomes a little weird and like how these cards work in universe. It's something you just got to be like, oh, okay, I buy it. Because, you know, you're a 10-year-old and the dragon looks really cool.
Yeah, so like whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's just interesting how like, because it's interesting how like, so like in Digimon, they're trying to synergize it as much as possible. Like obviously Digimon is different because like the anime is about the Digimon being real. It's not really a card game thing. Like there's no cards in it. But then like,
right.
You know,
I mean, some of them do have cards. Like Tamers, you could actually use the cards to power up your Digimon a bit.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because in Tamers, like the main character basically makes a Digimon OC that becomes real. And then he uses the cards to power it up because, like, in universe, they're all playing the cards, and when they see Digimon in real, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's not just a card game! What?" It's
okay,
real.
So that probably happened because, like, this is the second iteration of the Digimon card game. So that was probably when the first version came around. Oh, right, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, so like, yeah, but most of them, I don't think I'd revolve around. It's like they just get sucked into a different world, and Digimon are real, and then like go through an adventure together.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
but the card game itself, like Digimon card, tries to like incorporate things from the anime or the games, like X Antibody or whatever, like and stuff like that. So it's interesting how like Yu-Gi-Oh, just like the anime can do whatever it wants. We don't give a shit. We'll just do our own thing. But like, and then Digimon is over here, like let's try to incorporate as much as we can. Like you said, like warp Digi-evolutions and stuff. So yeah, or DNA Digi-evolution, and if you've heard of that, if that came up ever.
Yeah, that's something like, because most of my familiarity with all these series come from either like the anime or manga series they're based off of. I'm not so much of a card game person, just because one, I guess I could always go to a store to find people to play with, and then two, it's like it's extra money. I think it's something else I have to learn, and all that. I don't. I buy manga physically and everything. I'm like, I don't want to cut into those costs.
True. I'm digitally when it comes to comic books and manga, so that like saves me money, especially if there's like a sale or like buy one get one free, or you sail the high seas. You get my drift. Yeah. And then, but like it's a great way because like I've always been interested in card games because I want to test out my like intelligence and strategy thinking because I want to like build that. And
that
also
is such like a side character. I got into the card game because I wanted to test out my intelligence, and I'm going to become the greatest duelist ever.
I'm not going to become the greatest duelist. Like if I do, it'll probably take me like 20 years or something.
Yeah, you go up against the main character. It's like he doesn't even think. He just plays with his guts. How dare he? He doesn't use his intelligence. That is like something that happens multiple times in GX.
Yeah. So then, that, and also like it is a great way to meet people because like, hey, if you're an adult and you're having a hard time making friends and you want to meet like again, if you're like me, you're a nerd. It's kind of hard to meet because like most nerds are like very solitary hobbies. Like you don't need other people. Like you don't need other people to read a manga or watch a movie or a TV show or an anime. Right. So this is one way where it's like, oh no, you can because like, the person playing Digimon. Chances are they like anime if they're playing Digimon.
True, or Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, or they're a nerd if they're playing like again like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or whatever. So yeah, like
I mean, it would be hard for me to imagine you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh and you have no interest in anime.
There are actually, to be honest, there are.
Really?
Yes.
That's insane.
For both, I met people in Digimon. They're like, I would ask them,
like Pokemon, I could understand, but I don't know. I feel like
for Digimon, I asked them like, do you watch the anime? They're like, I've never seen the anime. I just like the game itself, like the mechanics. Or they watched as a kid and they've never seen it again. So that's for Digimon. Yu-Gi-Oh! I have met people that are like, I don't care about the anime. I just watched this, or they're like, again, it's a nostalgic thing. Like, yes, they watched it. They might have rewatched it once, but like that's it.
Well, no, like they're not even into anime normally itself either.
Oh, not into anime normally. It's that I haven't met.
Okay, because like I'm like what I meant, but like Yu-Gi-Oh, like if if you don't watch the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, I feel like you'd also be like an anime fan itself.
You'd be that would be
yeah.
Yes, I thought you meant the shows itself. Because
the shows itself, I meant just as a fan of the medium itself. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I've met a lot of people. I asked them like, "Hey, do you watch the anime?" They're like, "I wouldn't." It's happened so many times. I'm not surprised if some of them say no. Some of them say yes. Some of them like straight up say like, "Nah, I've never watched Digimon in my life, or I've never watched Yu-Gi-Oh in my life." But yeah, if chances are you're an anime fan, because like especially like they definitely are an anime fan, because like we have these like places to keep our cards, like deck boxes, storage boxes, and they all have anime stuff on them, like stickers and stuff. So,
okay. Because I was going to say, I could probably believe, like, since it's a little bit more normie these days, I mean, not so much the card game, but I can imagine, like, a Pokemon fan not necessarily being into anime that much. But for, like, Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh!, I feel like, if you're into those two, you have to be into anime.
Yeah, especially since it's, like, it's way more niche. Because, like, I mean, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Magic are the big three. Digimon is, like, it's not one of the big ones. It's more niche. It's more of a. It is there. Like the community is big. Like not big. Like it's considerable. Like it's like there's a good amount of people. Like you'll have no trouble finding players. But again, it's not one of the big three where you can just like throw a rock and you'll probably hit a Pokemon player, a Yu-Gi-Oh player, or a Magic player. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Actually, speaking of what we were saying about like solo hobbies and everything, like kind of brought up something I remember seeing on like social media, and then also brought up an experience I had myself. But like, how like watching a movie is something that I would argue sometimes is a little bit better yourself. I mean, depending on the movie.
Yeah, depending on the movie, and depending on like if it's the first time I'm watching it, I would prefer. If it's the second or third time, then I don't mind watching with a friend because I've experienced it already as an alone person. So yeah.
Yeah, because like if I'm trying to get to know someone, whether it be as a friend or dating, like I wouldn't want to be the first interactions being like go see a movie, because that's like 2 to 3 hours of not talking. Because it's generally not advised to talk, but that doesn't stop some people. Yeah. But anyways, I remember one time I went to go see a movie and I saw it by myself. And sometimes, occasionally, like for most anime movies, I go see them by myself, just either because it's a movie that. Because usually, sometimes I'll go see them with my brothers, but sometimes it'll be for an anime like they're not interested in or they haven't seen all the seasons of, so I'll go see it by myself. And I think I told you the story when I was living in Dubai. They released the Mazinger Z Infinity movie.
Yeah, okay, I remember the story.
All right, so I think I slightly expressed it in like one of my videos, but I don't think I went into the full history of it, of how this came to be. So one of the malls, they were playing the Mazinger Z Infinity movie, which I did see once because it got leaked online, but it got leaked with like really bad subtitles. Like anytime someone said like awesome or amazing, Sugoi, they would say the cow, which was really bizarre. So when a guy would be like, "Oh, amazing," he'd be like, "Oh, the cow." It was really bad subtitles. So I'm like, a couple months later, it's like, "Oh, it's coming to theaters." I'm like, "Holy shit, that's awesome!" So I bought my tickets. I reserved it. I go to the mall that was playing the movie, and I go pick up my ticket, and the guy behind the register is like, "Oh, you're seeing this movie by yourself?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, no friends?" And I was so like taken aback. This guy was basically, and I said like I have friends, but
he's like, yeah, sure. You tell me this part. You told me about the movie itself, and like,
oh, okay, yeah, no, this guy was being, and like it kind of pissed me off. I'm like, dude, like the fuck? Why are you judging me for seeing a movie by? Is it that weird to see a movie by yourself? Like, if anything, I think most of the time, if it's a brand new, fresh experience, unless it's like a big culmination of movies, like Endgame, I think it's a lot better to see a movie by yourself. Like, I don't get what the fuck was his problem. And I'm like, yeah, they're all like, busy right now. He's like, yeah, sure. Like, just give me my ticket, man. Fuck you. And then anyway, so that kind of pissed me off. But then to make matters worse, add insult to injury here. What the theater website did not tell me is that the Mazinger Z movie was dubbed in English, which I think Viz Media dubbed it, but it wasn't the Viz Media dub. It was an English dub from Spacetoon, which like Spacetoon, like what exactly is Spacetoon?
Okay, so for those who don't know, Spacetoon is like a Middle Eastern cartoon channel, and it usually has anime on it, and they usually dub it in Arabic or English or whatever for the Middle Eastern. I don't know if it still exists.
I remember when I lived in Dubai, I did see it. I came across it. I was surprised by some of the shows that would show. I mean, I'd never seen anything in English. It was always in Arabic. But like, at first it was like, okay, Naruto, One Piece, Inuyasha. But then sometimes I'd flip through it. It was like Detective Conan, Gintama, Fist of the North Star, Saint Seiya. I'm like, oh, okay. I was not expecting this to just
Detective Conan doesn't
show up.
Surprise me. There's surprisingly a lot of Detective Conan.
Actually, I guess Detective Conan is more popular outside of the U.S.
Yeah. So,
but anyways,
so it is one of those sort of. It's like basically our version of Toonami.
Yeah. So only it's a channel that like plays.
It's a channel. It's not a segment as part of a bigger channel.
Yeah, at least in like the cable service I had when I was living in Dubai, which I'm like, damn, I wish I knew Arabic so I could watch. Because I was surprised Gintama and Fist of the North Star being dubbed in Arabic. Anyways, so I didn't even know they did English dubs. I thought it was all Arabic. So at first when I saw Spacetoon, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Is this movie going to be in Arabic? Because most movies in Dubai will have like Arabic subtitles on the bottom. So I thought it was going to be like that. No, it's an English dub, but the English dub is so bad. Sometimes the audio would peak. Other times, like they kept on mistranslating like Mazinger. Sometimes it would be Mazinger. Sometimes it would be Masinger. One of the guys that got to play for one of the characters sounded like Patrick. Another guy sounded like Discount He-Man. It was just a really bad experience. I remember there's this one older guy that came to the movie, and after like 20 minutes he left. So I was just in the theater by myself. And I think I was actually WhatsApping you, telling you my experience while I was in the theater. And like, I paid money for it. I'm like, I'm not going to leave right now because like I paid money for this movie. So I just sat through like, it was like 2 hours. I could only just enjoy the action. I'm like, damn, I saw this movie fucked up twice. I saw it with the bad subtitles, and then I saw it again with like this piss poor dub. I'm like, damn. So my Mazinger Z Infinity experience was tarnished twice. But at least I got to see a Mazinger movie in theaters, which is probably not an experience I will have for a while.
It's on Tubi, if I'm not mistaken, but I just want to check which dub it has because I don't want the.
I don't think it will be the Spacetoon dub.
Yeah, wait a second. Infinity. I don't think. Maybe it got off on Tubi. I'm not sure. Let me see. No, I don't think it's there anymore. It's gone. I searched Mazinger, nothing, and searching Infinity, nothing. Okay.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I should have watched it when it was there. Anyways, there are other ways to get it.
There's plenty of ways to watch it these days.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I just remember that whole experience was just bad for me. Like, I think the most positive experience I had was like afterwards. I just went to the food court and had a shawarma. Then I went home, and my mom's like, "How's the movie?" I'm like, "It's okay."
Could have been better if they did English.
If either it was subtitled or if it was a different English dub. Because I remember I was hyping myself up through the movie. I was like driving to the mall. I had like all of the Mazinger like opening songs like playing. I'm so hyped. Then I get insulted by like the cashier guy. Saying, "Oh, you're seeing a movie by yourself." Fuck you.
It's just like one bad thing on top of another.
And like on top of this, I'm pretty like not the most secure person being an anime fan out in public, which I
Wait,
know
this
is
is a very
wild.
recent thing for you, yeah.
No, I mean even in uni, I like despite me being like an anime club president, that was something I did not want on me, and I always hated when someone would point that out like in public to me. It's like, oh, hey, it's the anime club president. I'm like, shut up. Oh my god, I remember I had this. I had these friends and like that didn't really interact with our group in university. They knew I was like that I was in charge of a club, but they didn't know what club. And one day they asked me, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie to this guy because these guys were like the nicest people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were so nice and pure and innocent. So I told them like, yeah, it's the anime club. And then like one of them just like he had this look in his face that like looked so disappointed. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh no. And then one of them told, which, see, they're really nice people, but I don't know how they keep themselves entertained because like they barely watch movies, they don't listen to that much music, not that much TV show. Which all the best. Sometimes I feel like my life would probably be a little bit better without all this pop culture. Maybe
I can't
I'm just
imagine a
jealous of them.
life without the pop culture. I'm like,
yeah, so maybe I'm a bit jealous of them. But like, I remember one of them was telling me, he's like, yeah, I tried getting into anime, but it was just so violent, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what anime is he talking about? I'm thinking he's going to bring up some like 80s OVA or Hellsing or something. He's like, yeah, I was watching Death Note. It was just such a vile show, and like, I'm like, oh god, no. Like thinking in the back of my head, man, you show him like Berserk or something, he's going to lose his mind.
Oh, he's going to flip his head. Like,
yeah, he's going to regress. But yeah, I remember just like I'm just not the biggest person about being out in the open. I think most of that comes from like my childhood, because I remember anytime I would watch like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! And a family member would walk in, they'll be like, oh, they'll like make fun of Yugi's hair. I'm like, shut up, no, it's awesome. What are you talking about? Or like they'd like make fun of like, the Pokemon saying their name. It always bothered me as a kid because they were just making fun of things that I really liked. So in my head, I'm like, oh, they don't respect this, which I'm pretty sure like it wasn't that deep, but that became like something deep-seated into like my psyche.
For me, I have the opposite reaction because I've had the same thing happened to me where like family members or other relatives didn't understand like my like for it. Like, for example, let me tell you something. To this day, I've told so many people this and everybody's reaction is, huh? I was reading Batman when I was in Pakistan. My uncle walks in, sees me reading Batman, and like, when they use terms, it's not the correct term, but I know what they mean, and that term encompasses everything pop culture and nerdy. So for him, it was cartoons.
Okay.
Like anything pop culture related is just a cartoon to him, right? It doesn't have to be live action, even if it is like live action, right? So I'm reading Batman, right? He comes in, sees me reading Batman. He's like, Hamza, if you read cartoons, eventually one day you'll become a cartoon yourself.
I would have been like, hell yeah. Reads more.
And then a friend of mine made fun of it. He's like, Hamza, if you eat bread, one day you'll become bread yourself. I'm like, what the fuck? What is that? I'm not bothering anybody. I'm just by myself reading Batman. And then he just comes and like, if you read cartoons, you're going to become a cartoon yourself. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean?
See, it was never anything like that. Like hindsight, I think it was a little bit more innocent what my family was doing. They're never like, oh, why you watch? Like my parents still bought me like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and like for Halloween they got me like a Yu-Gi-Oh costume and stuff like that. It was never anything that was like that down, like looked bad upon by my family, but it was just like in my head, I'm like, no, they're making some fun of something that I really enjoy. Like it's supposed to be like they don't respect it, so if I keep on watching this stuff, they won't respect me. But fuck not watching it. I'm just not going to tell them I'm watching it. But like I'm pretty sure over the years they've gotten like lots of tastes of me being into this stuff, because like if they ever walked into my room, there's a whole shelf dedicated to manga. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that.
For me, my
brothers are a little bit more open with it. But
my mom's not that into it. She calls comics Archies.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that's her term. Everybody, I'm just interested in what's your term? Like, you know how some older people call gaming console, all of them are Nintendo. Like, it's not like
Right.
PlayStation, Xbox. Are you going to play on the Nintendo? Like, yeah. So for her, it's Archie's, and then my dad is a bit more okay with it because as a kid he grew up with it. He's just a bit like he grew up loving Star Wars. He still watches Star Wars. You know, whenever something comes on Disney Plus, she watches it. He actually grew up watching Grandizer.
Oh yeah, I remember you were telling me about that. Yeah,
Which I haven't seen, and I'm like, good. I at the time when he told me, I didn't care. I thought that's just an old school dumbass cartoon. But then that I'm into, now that I'm in, like I've watched Mazinger. I know I'm watching more mecha. I know the history of mecha, Super Robot and Real Robot in anime. I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. Now I'm like, oh damn, it's pretty cool. He watched Grandizer and still like has a fond like memories of it.
Yeah. It's interesting how like in that area, Grandizer was like the most popular. Like a lot of them don't even know about like Mazinger. It's all like, no, it's Grandizer or Goldrake, depending on the region you're in. But, like,
so yeah, like, and also like, you know, Spider-Man, Batman are like, you know, have been around, like are generational. So like, you know, he remembers seeing, you know, Batman 89, Spider-Man, the movies, and so he still likes them. So he even told me like once we were eating like at a restaurant, he's like, it warms my heart knowing that like the you know, the things from my childhood are still popular today. Mine is Grandizer. It's not
right.
But like Star Wars still is, Spider-Man, Batman.
Well, Grandizer's actually getting a video game coming out soon.
Oh,
apparently.
really?
So
okay.
yeah. So Grandizer's still. I think it's by a French studio. Again, like certain regions just really gravitated to Grandizer, which is weird because it's technically part of a trilogy and it's the last of that trilogy.
Oh, it's part of the Mazinger trilogy, or
yeah, it's like the last of the Mazinger trilogy. Like Koji's like a character in it, like the main character of Mazinger Z, but he's like a major side character. Like I don't even think he pilots the Mazinger anymore.
Yeah. I mean, but obviously my dad has its limit. So like, you know, if I go to him, it's like, hey, you know, Dad, I'm watching the prequel. I'm watching Mazinger, and he'd be like, "What's that?" Even if I explain to him, he will have no interest in watching it. So yeah, my dad even like when it was coming out on CW, like he would watch Arrow and Flash and stuff, and I would tell my other friends like, oh yeah, my dad's watching. He was actually ahead of me at one point watching Arrow and Flash and stuff, and it's like, and my other friends would be like, yeah. Man, your dad's really cool. The fact that he's watching like shows that we watch, like, you know, for them, the parents just watch like Bollywood and stuff, or like Indian dramas and stuff. So it's like the fact that your dad is actually watching something that like we also watch and consuming it and likes it genuinely is pretty cool.
Yeah, like I remember, like as a family, we watched all those CW shows. I mean, I eventually tapped out. They lasted a bit longer, but eventually they tapped out too. But they lasted like 3 or 4 seasons longer than I did. So, and then what? Yeah. And see, the thing is, like, it's not like that my family necessarily looks down on animation. Like, you know, my parents really like Disney movies, and sometimes they'll watch like the Illumination movies that I wouldn't watch. I'm like, no, it's okay. You can watch Secret Life of Pets 2 by yourselves. I'm not joining you in that one.
But I will join you for Puss in Boots, which is somehow
yes. I still don't understand that, because I remember when I saw the trailer for it, I'm like, wow, it took that long for a sequel for Puss in Boots, and like the first one wasn't even that good. I'm like,
yeah, it was just okay. Like, all right,
and like I remember I thought people were memeing, because you know everyone loves the Shrek memes, like, oh, it's like the masterpiece of cinema, blah blah blah. Shrek is so, like I thought it was like that, and then some people were like, no, generally it's a good movie. I'm like, okay. Let me go see it. And I'm like, okay, no, this is a really good movie.
Yeah. I that's the thing. So yeah, it is. I just wish, like, you know, I don't mind people not liking it. I just want you to respect it. Like, if I'm watching anime, like, just like acknowledge it. Like, oh yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing that people do. My mom told me to my face when she found out that my other cousins also watch like anime and stuff. It's like, oh, so my son's not weird. This is a thing that the younger generation does.
Bruh. Yeah, I don't think... See, like, my parents sense that I think they're fine. It was just something that was deep-rooted into me. And then obviously back in the days, like, oh, being an anime fan's like... You know, kind of like how being like a comic book fan
I feel like it's normal. It's normal now. Like, it's, to me, I think it's reached the point where, like, everybody's seen Star Wars. Like,
yeah. I think now, like, everything that's considered nerdy is fine. Because I remember back in the day, comic books. What are you, a fucking nerd?
yeah,
And
yeah,
now because
as older
that's like the
comic books
biggest, most profitable thing in the planet right now.
Yeah,
It's because I remember back in the day, like, my parents would be like, "Oh, what's going to happen next?" I'm like, I know where this character is going because I watched the animated cartoon, which probably doesn't reflect the comics, but back then that was something.
Yeah. So, but at least you didn't have. Did you ever have a cringy moment with your? Oh, you have. You've told me. So, like, my dad had a coworker, and I was invited to this like a dinner. His company was throwing for the employees, and like everybody brought their families. So we went to this dinner, this work dinner, and then my dad introduced me to a coworker, and he's like, "Oh, son, he also watches anime like you." And I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Dad. Shut the fuck. Don't. No, I'm glad you acknowledge this thing now. But please, don't do that.
Mine, I feel, was slightly worse because
I know what you're doing, but you can just tell the people.
My dad invited some like coworkers to our house, and one of them had like a Japanese wife, and my mom was just like, "Oh, my kids love Japanese stuff. They love the anime." I'm like, please. Like, stop. I just wanted to regress. I'm like, oh no, please take me out of here. And she kind of didn't seem like to understand what that meant. I'm like, oh. Because like it's kind of fucked up. Like if you go up to a Mexican person, it's like, oh yeah, my son loves fucking lucha libre. It's like, oh, okay.
I thought you were gonna say, oh, my son loves burritos and tacos.
Who doesn't? But yeah, I'm like, no, I just don't want to seem. I don't want to seem like that guy. But yeah, occasion. I mean, at least they try. Since then, my mom's actually watched some anime due to my brother's influence. Because like during COVID, a lot of her shows were kind of on hiatus. So my brother's like, you know what, Mom? Why don't you watch Demon Slayer?
Bro, I shat myself when my dad was watching an anime on Netflix.
Which one?
Oh god, I can't remember which one. So I'll try searching for it. So I literally, because my dad used to pick me up from uni at my bus stop. So he comes in, I sit down. So my dad has this really bad habit of when he's driving, especially if it's a route he knows, like it's the commute part, right? He puts his phone on the dashboard and plays something.
Oh my, yeah, I know some people. I was living in Dubai that did that. And I'm like, how and why?
Yeah. So my dad did that, and he was watching. I don't know if it's still on Netflix. I'm like, why are you watching this? It's like, oh, because I think he thought it was something related to Grandizer. I don't know what that anime was. Let me try finding it if it's still there. But like, yeah. I was like, seriously? Like, oh my god, like, what is happening? And I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I'm glad, but I'm also like, I can't imagine my dad, like, just...
Wait, so he's watching this because it might be related to Grandizer, but he would have no interest in Mazinger Z?
I think so. I don't know. I think like it's too disconnected. I think when I find the anime, I'll get my answer.
Because like one of the side characters is literally the pilot of Mazinger Z and Grandizer. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me just search Grandizer. It was something Dizer. I think he just saw the name Dizer and is like, I see. Well, what was it? It was something. I can't remember. What was it? No, not Voltron.
I'm trying to think of like what mecha anime came out in Netflix, because I know there was like Kuromukuro or whatever, but like
I'm trying to
have
find
Dizer
it.
in the name.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It's something. What was it? Where's the search thing? Where is the search thing?
That's hilarious. But see, like, I don't understand how people would like go and watch things on Netflix while they're like. I would understand for like background noise if it's like a show that they've, like Friends or whatever, like a show that people just play on the background.
Yeah.
But like, I've seen like, I remember we had a friend and he was like, "Yeah, I'm watching this movie like while I'm trying." I'm like, that does not sound safe at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he still does it, but he did do it at that time. Yeah, so I know. Yeah, that is a thing.
Yeah, I remember like that just does not sound safe at all. But Yeah.
Right.
Mecha anime.
Speaking of, you mentioned something that okay, so Shaheen has watched one of my favorite shows of all time. It's what got me into comic books and DC in general. I used to have such fond memories of it. I love it so much. It is Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. He just finished both. It was my introduction to DC. It's where, like, when I think of the DC characters, I think of those versions of those characters first, rather before the comic versions. And I love it so much. And if Shane, you don't like it, we can't be friends anymore. Okay.
No, I really enjoyed it. It's like peak superhero cartoons.
Yes.
It's really good, but we probably should have segued into this after John Wick, because like when we're discussing this after the before we started recording, I'm like, oh yeah, Clancy Brown's in John Wick, and he played Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
and I was telling him,
Shane told me something which I was like, I did not know at all. Like, this surprised me. He plays Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, he's Mr. Krabs, because I was telling him, like, every time Clancy Brown shows up in live action, because I'm more familiar with him as a voice actor, so every time he shows up in a live action thing and like I'm watching with family, I always like point to the screen. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Clancy Brown. They're like, who's Clancy Brown? And I'm trying to think of like what role would like sell it to them, because I can't just say, oh, it's Lex Luthor, oh, it's Neo Cortex. I'm like, oh no, it's Mr. Krabs. They're like, what? But yeah, Mr. Krabs and Lex Luthor are like the same voice actor.
That still blows my mind that it's the same. He's also in Gargoyles.
Superman, like, you owe me money.
He's also in Gargoyles, which is another show that.
Yeah,
he plays on multiple characters in that, like Wolf, the Old Viking, and like a lot of characters in that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a joy to hear Clancy Brown in a role.
You can immediately pick it up. But his version of Lex Luthor, that version of Superman, that version of Batman. Well, okay, not that version specifically because I remember a different costume, but like that voice, Kevin Conroy's voice, him and Wonder Woman's relationship. That was like, oh wow, this is a pairing I'm actually interested in.
There's a lot of pairings in that show that was like I felt like I'm like, oh, I've never seen this or heard of this before. But then again, I'm not as familiar with like the actual comics of DC as Hamza is.
I mean, we talked about it. This show is, I mean, any Bruce Timm show, when I look back at it now as an adult, I'm like, this was very horny.
Oh yeah, extremely show. There's so many scenes where I'm just like, how did this air for kids? Like, I'm actually kind of glad I didn't watch this when my parents were in, because I didn't watch Justice League as a kid. For some reason, it was just never in my radar. Like, I have memories of Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond, but that's it. Like, everything else, like, I knew existed. I just, because back in the day, it wasn't so easy to just type it up on a streaming service or, other website and like find these things. Before it was like I had to rely on TV, and I didn't necessarily have a TV guide, so it was like whatever was playing on that channel was what I was watching.
For me, I don't know. I think because Cartoon Network did a whole like DC cartoon block at some point. So like there would be Teen Titans, Static Shock, Batman, Superman, the animated series, and then like Justice League, which up. Then I would rewatch Batman and Superman. Not Superman. Superman I watched later, but like Batman, Batman Beyond, and Justice League in high school, like from beginning to end. Static Shock I still have to watch. I really want to watch that. I also will read the comic for that too. But yeah. But again, like, because that's Bruce Timm. I love the way he draws women, but it is very horny. I mean, I think the first episode, because Batman seduces Cheetah, if I'm not mistaken, to get him out, to get out of the situation.
There's like a couple scenes like that. There's this like one scene when like Green Lantern starts dating Vixen, and she's just laying on a chair, and like the way it's animated and the way she's moving, I'm like, no way, you did this in a kid
hips, man, those hips. Oh, God.
Yeah, and then when they were introducing, I forgot what was the name of the group, the Royal Flush Gang or whatever.
Oh, right.
When they're introducing them, and they're like, oh, here's Queen, and it just zooms into her crotch, which had the Queen symbol, and then pans up. I'm like, why did you do that?
That I don't remember the zoom in into the crotch, but yeah, like
because they all had like the symbols of their cards on their costume. I'm just like, oh, okay. Which that episode was funny because it took place in Las Vegas, which I live in Las Vegas, but it's really funny because like obviously, I guess they didn't have the rights to a lot of the hotels, so like them naming certain hotels was funny. Like Treasure Island was Island Resort, and then Gold Coast was Gold Rush, and it was funny. Or the Luxor was like, I forgot what it was called. It was like Arabian Adventure or something like that. It was just funny seeing the discount name of a lot of like iconic Vegas hotels.
That one episode, that all women episode of Just League Unlimited, where they're all like fighting each other. Oh, that was so great.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, and Unlimited. Yeah, there's just a lot, or like even some of the dialogue. Like I remember, like when like the question and Hunt.
Oh yes, that's
yeah, yeah. It's like, what are you wearing? A trench coat. It's like, what else? Orange socks. It just hangs up. I'm like, hey, no way they were trying to do what I think they were doing.
Oh god, yeah. Oh yeah, Huntress and Question. Like, oh man, I see. This introduced me. I didn't know Question existed as a character. I didn't know Green Arrow or Black Widow existed as a character. Huntress, even like there were so many characters that introduced me to that I had no idea existed and were like that, like cool and awesome. Like I want to read Question because of Justice League. And then like, if you ask most DC fans today, their version of Justice League is either Unlimited has everybody, so that doesn't really count, but like recently Scott Snyder, when he took over Justice League the comic, he put out a question like, hey, who do you want on the Justice League? Whoever you want, whoever the fans want, like the majority of the fans, I'll put in. Guess what the majority of the fans wanted? The original Justice League 7. Like Green Lantern John Stewart, Hawk Woman or Hawk Girl, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Flash, Wally West Flash, and that's who they wanted. Like, I mean, so it still holds a major thing to this day. In fact, they recently released a comic, Justice League Infinity, which takes place in that universe. So okay. it's still a major like thing. Like it any DC fan will tell you, like, yeah, that cartoon. I think that and Young Justice is more recent, so it doesn't have that old school nostalgia thing yet. But I think eventually that will as well. Young Justice and Justice League Unlimited and Justice League. I'm just going to call it Justice League Unlimited for everything.
Yeah, because it all kind of
it's all together. It's all one show basically. Are probably the best. I mean, even Teen Titans too. I guess the old school Teen Titans. Probably the best things DC has ever done in terms of like a visual storytelling. And I'm saying that, yes, acknowledging the movies. Still probably better than them, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, that's one thing, considering that both Marvel and DC, I think we've talked about in other podcasts, where like they're both owned by like animation studios these days, but they barely do any. Well, Superman is actually coming out with a new cartoon soon. I'm not sure if you saw the trailer for it. It's going to be on Adult Swim.
Oh, really? Oh, wait. Maybe I've seen it. It's the one
where like Lois has like an extreme character design. She has like shorter hair.
Okay. I'll check it out. I haven't heard of this yet. Yeah.
But I'm just surprised they haven't released that many animated projects, because I feel that's a good way to like rope in an audience. Because like with the movies, you can't have as much development or time as you can with a TV series. But obviously with a TV series, it's probably a little bit harder to keep up with like the super heroics. So I feel like an animated series is like the best sweet spot where you can introduce some of the more goofier or harder to do characters that like wouldn't necessarily work out as well.
When James Gunn recently announced that they're doing their DC universe is starting over again and we're done with the Snyderverse, which thank God.
Yeah, it was not.
I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder in his version of the universe, minus Shazam. Shazam was cool. I haven't seen the sequel yet.
I haven't either. I know it's been bombing critically, but I heard the movie itself was still good.
Yeah. So when he was doing that, I was like really secretly hoping, like, please make animated movies. Like, I would prefer that, honestly, because like it even makes sense because like Marvel has such a stronghold right now on the live action stuff. So like DC like being like, hey, you know what? Let's go a different way. Let's do it in the animation way, and let's show Disney, like, which is supposedly the number 1 animation studio in the world, like how to do it properly, because their animation shows suck balls. Like it's like this is what the number 1
like a lot of their
recent
recent Marvel cartoons have just been really bad.
Really bad, like unwatchable, dude. Ugh.
And then, like, there's still some cartoons they have that I'll watch, like Owl House and Amphibia, Big City Greens. Those are fine.
But
But in terms of,
great.
but in terms of, like, the actual Marvel cartoons they've been pumping out, like, I remember, like, after Earth's Mightiest Heroes, there's another Avengers cartoon, which was terrible.
It was terrible, yes. Or after Earth's Mightiest Heroes, there's nothing. I know there's some fans of Ultimate Spider-Man. I wasn't a fan of that cartoon. It was
the one with Drake Bell as Spider-Man?
Yeah, the one with Drake Bell as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was a bit way too Deadpool-y for me, for my taste.
Yeah. I tried watching a couple episodes because it did look like, at least that one visually looked like a cooler show than some of the other
visual
Marvel cartoons.
Animation.
Because there's this other Spider-Man cartoon that looks like ass. Like, it's bad.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, it's like it looks like clip art, whatever. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad. I'm like, damn, and this is a Disney production. That's sad. That's just not right.
Yeah, like because I feel like Spectacular is that in the '90s one, but like I haven't seen the '90s one, but like I know people have a lot of nostalgia for it, but like. Spectacular Spider-Man is peak. Like,
Spectacular Spider-Man is really good. And then, like,
by the way,
I don't know, Disney, I feel, is like ashamed
also
of animation.
Surprisingly horny. Like the scene where he meets Black Cat for the first time, she literally says, "Don't get your goop in my hair." Yep.
I feel most superhero cartoons were like kind of secretly, I don't know. I feel most of them were kind of like that, to be honest.
Yeah. But like, yeah. Oh, so what was one of your favorite episodes? I can tell you mine. I love the Justice Lords episode.
Oh yeah, that one. That was.
I love Superman's costume in that. Oh,
yeah, the Superman costume in that one was really good. Like, that was probably my favorite one out of the bunch.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Again, for Vegas reasons, I did like the Royal Flush Gang one. It was also funny because the voice actors for the Royal Flush Gang, I'm not sure if the show came out at the time, but all the Royal Flush Gang members were voiced by the Teen Titans for the Teen Titans cartoon.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, I don't think their voices necessarily fit the characters, but like that was nice. For like the original Justice League, there was like a lot of episodes I liked. I did like the one where, which I was surprised I liked because I didn't think I would like it, but there was the episode where like Superman gets like displaced in time and he's like in a far off future where it's only him and what's his name? Vandal Savage. And like Superman has to go back in time. I don't know. I just really liked the whole atmosphere of that episode. I thought that one was pretty engaging.
I thought you were going to talk about that Superman episode where the Blackthorn episode where he fights Mongol, but he puts him in a dream world.
Yeah. That one was good too.
Yeah. I recently saw a clip from that and I'm like, I've never seen Superman that angry. Like when he was fighting Mongol, like, do you have any idea what you've taken from me?
I mean, there's a couple episodes where Superman gets pretty pissed off. I'm like, there's also the episode where he meets Shazam.
Oh, right. Okay,
that one was a heartbreaking episode. Dude, that one had like a lot of distraction. I'm like, damn, Superman. Like, I was waiting for someone to explain, like, yeah, someone like bugged Superman's head. Or something like, why is he such an asshole in this episode? But no,
Superman,
he was.
The Justice League one is very like tightly wound. He's not as relaxed and loose as he is in the comics. And in that one, like people talk about, it's like the one Superman episode where Shazam out Superman, or Captain Marvel, as he was called at that time.
Yeah.
I love that scene where he like puts Superman like on top of him, like bear hugging him, and then he's like Shazam, and the lightning hits Superman right on his chest.
No, and then I like when he's trying to say it again, and he covers his mouth, and he's like, "That's enough, kid." I'm like, "Oh damn!" And I'm like, "Oh, so he knew he was a kid too, and he was just beating the crap out of him." Because I thought he was going to be shocked. He's like, "Oh no, I've been beating up a kid this whole time," and like stops. And he's like, "No, that's." No,
I think in that moment, I think he figured it out. I don't think anybody knew. I think in that moment he figured out that like, oh, this kid can switch back and forth if you say so.
I thought that would have affected him more mentally. Just like, man, I've just been like punching because like that was a really violent episode. There was a lot of destruction. They were like
Dragon Ball Z-esque fight.
They annihilated that town.
Yeah.
That town. I think that was probably the most destructive fight until like the final Doomsday episode. I mean, or not Doomsday, Darkseid.
In the comics, it is one of those things that like Lex Luthor, like because Captain Marvel was saying like we should give Luthor a chance, like everybody deserves a second chance. Superman has the same philosophy. Like everybody has a chance to redeem himself. Everybody has a chance to better themselves. Lex Luthor is the one person where even Superman, I think in a comic, I can't remember where, he said that like Luthor is the only one I feel like I've failed because I've given up on him.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I mean, the amount of times he's like tried to fuck him over, it's like I don't know if this guy has any goodness in him, because Superman believes everybody has goodness in them, and anybody can redeem them. Luthor is the one person where he's like, I don't know,
I don't know about this guy.
yeah. So I can in sort of, again, this is just me. Like maybe I'm making this headcanon for myself just to justify it. But either way, it's like, the Superman would like, because Luthor is that one, like, is the one thing that gets under his skin. Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of best moments, I think one of the best moments in like another personal favorite episode of mine, which I've always seen like the clip of it on YouTube being like, oh, this is the best Batman moment, but I've never like watched it because I'm like, oh, one of these days I'm going to watch the Justice League cartoon. Yeah. I think the episode was called Epilogue, which had like Batman Beyond, but it was like it features that great Batman moment when.
Oh, okay, all right. So I wanted to ask you about that because there's one weird thing in it, and I don't know if I remember it correctly, but you've seen it, so you will know perfectly. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so like it's when that character Ace is going to like kind of just like rewrite the Earth, and like Batman, because like she's about to die, and like Amanda Waller's like, listen, like if she doesn't cancel out her ability before she dies, like the whole reality as we know is going to be gone, and then like we have to kill her, and then Batman's like, I got it. And at first I'm like, oh, is Batman just like, he's not going to kill this girl, is he? And then he goes, visits her, and then kind of like it's a very quiet, somber scene, and it's just like, yeah, you're gonna be dying, and the girl's like, I'm scared, and they just have like a really quiet, touching moment with each other, and then he walks out with her dead in his arms. Which again, I'm like, damn, this was like, you can't really do that anymore. I think I wish they could, because obviously we all turned out fine.
He holds her hands at her final moments.
Dude, I was like choking up. I'm like, fucking superheroes are awesome. But
because people forget about that. Like Batman, yes, he is an asshole. I'm pretty sure the show shows that he's like, technically, I'm still part time.
Yeah, I love that. It's like I didn't, because like when all the Justice League, there's like this one episode where due to like stuff that happens in the show, like the Justice League were going to turn themselves in to kind of like repent for a crime.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, so Batman, you coming? He's like, I'm part-time. I didn't sign up for this. Bye. I'm like, okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's true. He wasn't there, and he's the only one like among them that has a secret identity. I'm like, that's kind of an asshole move to not inform him of that, because he has something to lose in the situation.
But all of them do, right?
Well, I mean, I guess beside Flash, everyone else has their like identities out in the open. Like Superman has his face
to each other. You mean, right? Okay,
yeah, because they're like, yeah, we're going to be arrested, and we're going. I mean, I guess Superman has a secret identity, but it's not as like.
Because he's not a billionaire.
Yeah, I don't think like even if it's like, oh, now we're going to kill everyone you love. I'm like, I'm Superman. Try it. Like, I double dog dare you.
God. Speaking of Amanda Waller, like Amanda Waller is amazing in that show. Like she's amazing in the comics too, because I've read the Suicide Squad comics. But like, man, in that show, she did like next level. And like that scene where she like shows up Batman, like they have an argument about the watchtower, and she like points out all the flaws. Like, you guys act like gods, you fucking weirdos. You have a watchtower in the sky pointing down. And it's like, she makes a good point though.
Yeah, because it really does, like, when they're pointing that out, it's like, oh yeah, that is technically true. They are like watching us from above, and they have a giant orbital laser, and they can just shoot down because there is an episode where someone hacks into their system and shoots that laser into a town, and then everyone's blaming the Justice League. It's like, oh, in real life, that's probably what would have happened. I'm like, oh. Because I was so surprised, like, that town. I mean, I don't think they really went into casualties, but they showed the people being like, man, fuck you guys. Like, first you blow up our city, and then you come down to help us? What's wrong with you guys?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, okay, so there's one episode. I can't remember which one. It was Unlimited or Justice League. the Batman Beyond episode where it's in the future.
Yeah, that was part of the episode with that moment that I.
With that moment. Okay.
Yeah.
So Amanda Waller takes Bruce Wayne's DNA, shoots it into Terry McGinnis, who's Batman Beyond, his dad, to rewrite his DNA or change his semen or what? I don't. What was that? What was that?
It was a really weird, convoluted thing where like they were just basically injecting Bruce Wayne DNA into like a random couple that like had some similarities to Bruce Wayne that were like were intelligent and athletic enough.
Yeah.
So injecting a little Bruce, which I don't even think that's how genetic works.
It works, yeah.
And try to like mold a new Batman. And like the original plan is like, yeah, we're going to kill his parents. So he could be like Batman. But then like eventually the assassin, who turns out to be Barbara Gordon, was just like, no, I can't do this. Like Bruce wouldn't want this either. So they let the parents live. Of course, the dad eventually dies and Terry McGinnis becomes Batman. But like, that was more of like a circumstance of luck. It was almost like fate. Luck. Yeah, bad luck, fate, however you want to look at it. It kind of happened naturally.
Yeah.
But like that was such a bizarre. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure this was way before Damian was a thing.
You didn't have to do that. In fact, I don't even like it because I remember she said like, "Oh, the world always needs a Batman," and I'm like,
does it though?
Not really. Gotham, sure. Like, that.
I think the world would be fine without Batman. You just need a really smart guy on the superhero team. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Batman.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, fun fact: Batman Beyond also part-time on the future Justice League.
Nice. Forever part-timer. Because like I was thinking about it, it's like, oh, we always need a Batman. But I'm like, there's the Legion of Superhero episodes where Brainiac kind of serves the Batman role. I'm like, okay, so that was a lie. Yeah. They didn't have a Batman and Legion of Superheroes. So
I love this scene. I love the scene where they're in the future and old Batman meets young Batman and they're interrogating this guy. And then old Batman's like, was I ever this soft? While young Batman is like literally like hanging a person off a building, like about to like threatening to throw him down.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, yeah, but so many good moments. By the way, that explanation for the Hawkmen, was that confusing to you or did that make sense?
Oh, with the whole like that projector thing, like planting memories into, I don't know. It was still very convoluted, especially it's like, John's ancient ancestor was also pretty into Hawkgirl. I'm like, okay.
Oh, right, yeah, because Hawkgirl and John there's a love triangle, because Vixen and John, there's John and Hawkgirl, but there's also Hawkman who wants Hawkgirl. Like, yeah.
There was I'm like, damn. Yeah. I mean, see, I really like Hawkgirl, Hawkman. I'm like, man, this guy's lame.
In the comics, it's different. It's
okay.
In the comics, yeah, it's
right. I would imagine because I don't feel that this was like the best representation of the character.
Yeah, even in the CW show, I don't know why it's the number one track. I think it's because of this show. Is that like, okay, so Hawkgirl's the normal one, Hawkman is the creepy one.
I see.
Yeah. Oh god, I missed that show so much. Oh, by the way, this is also a fun fact. When I was a kid, I didn't like Superman. I really didn't understand him until like recently as an adult. Right? I'm like, oh no, the world needs a Superman. This is why Superman is amazing because he is the superhero of all superheroes and such. A person with this much power is so kind and gentle and like, cares about humanity even though he's not human himself and like recognizes that humanity is like the best thing ever, right? So as a kid, I didn't because I was a dumb kid. I'm like, Superman's lame.
Yeah, I feel that's a lot of people still to this day.
True. So that episode where like it's a magic-based episode where like the Justice League see each other as different like monsters and they fight each other, then they don't realize they're fighting each other. So Superman and Wonder Woman get into it. And I think it's pretty clear that Wonder Woman beats the shit out of him. And so as a kid, and I'm fully admitting this, it's such a sexist moment. Like, man, Superman is so lame. Even Wonder Woman, a girl, could beat him. Yeah, it was a stupid sexist moment. I recognize that, but like I've obviously grown since then. But like as a kid, I was like, man, Superman's such dumb.
Superman actually had a few intense moments in this because, like, in one of the Justice League episodes where they meet Darkseid as a team, and the Superman's like, "Oh man, we got to like on site." Like Darkseid comes into the Justice League watchtower, and like Superman just like flies up to him, beats the shit out of him, and even Batman's like, "Dude, like you got to calm down." And then Superman's like, "You don't understand. This guy is like you can't trust blah blah blah," because like Darkseid's coming in to ask him for a favor, and then even towards the end of the episode, like Superman's trying to beat up Darkseid, and then Batman pulls him away, and the Superman's just like, "Why did you pull me away?" He's like, "This is not like you, Clark." And like Superman's like, "Screw you, Batman," flies off. But I'm like, I'm surprised too because I feel like Superman's kind of the right. It's like, listen, Batman, this guy isn't your stereotypical psychopath in Gotham. This is an intergalactic dictator. Like,
see, that will make sense when you watch Superman the animated series because Darkseid ends up killing a close friend of Superman in that show, like a police officer that he was friends with. And also, like, yeah, he does a lot. So, like, the finale of Superman animated series is Superman versus Darkseid.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think, I think it comes from there that, like, where, like, I think Superman is like PTSD. Like, oh my god, no, Darkseid is bad news.
Yeah. Pretty unhinged Superman moment.
Yeah.
I just like how
I also like love that again. And back to the horniness of this show. Supergirl and Power Girl. By the way, that Power Girl's like a clone of Supergirl in that show, right? But like,
right.
As Green Arrow said, more developed.
right.
Yeah, that's the only thing in the show. In the comics, it's much different. But like, yeah, like that was it. That was interesting.
Yeah, because that always confused me as a kid. Because I always say I didn't watch the show, and then like later on, as I grew up and learned about Power Girl and Supergirl, I'm like, are they like the same person? Are they different? Like
same person, different universes.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Supergirl and Power Girl are the same. Power Girl's just older and from a different universe. Like if Supergirl's from the main Earth, Power Girl's from the other Earth.
The classic other Earth scenario.
Yeah, classic like, DC multiverse, baby. Yes.
But yeah, Justice League was a good time. I might watch the other animated shows.
What between this and Young Justice, which one would you say? I mean, they're both really, really good. I still have to watch Young Justice more of it. I've only seen the first 2 seasons. I haven't seen it since its return. But like, yeah, between the two, what would you say is better?
See, I haven't seen the earlier seasons of Young Justice in a while because Young Justice, when it was coming out, got me back into watching superhero cartoons. Because after that, I'm like, oh, and then I decided to watch Spectacular Spider-Man. And like kind of go on from there for a bit. I might say I actually prefer the Justice League show a little bit more. I mean, I do appreciate that Justice League, not Justice League, Young Justice has more of a ongoing story.
Yeah, it's more. It has more like parts to it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Justice League Unlimited kind of had an ongoing story that was building on with each season, and there was a lot of callbacks and references. But I almost feel like I'm not sure if the series itself got cut short or canceled because there are some plot lines that just never got resolved or we didn't get the more of a follow up on.
True. Maybe because there are Justice League animated comics, so maybe it got closed there or something.
Probably. But whereas Young Justice is able to continue, but I feel like Young Justice continued over time, like in the newest seasons. It just becomes a Justice League cartoon because a lot of the Young Justice members grow up.
It's just a Justice League cartoon now. It's like it's not even Young Justice.
I think all the Young Justice members either grow up and become part of the Justice League, or they form the Outsiders, or like I don't think there is a Young Justice in the show right now. No. They're all in like different teams, and there's so many different teams. It's like it's a DC show. It's not just the Young Justice. It is a DC Universe show. There's everyone's there.
Oh, right. And another character that I didn't know. So like Green Arrow, Huntress, Question, all of those. I did not know Martian Manhunter existed until this show. And what always bothered me is like, Martian Manhunter has way too many powers.
Yeah, like no wonder why he has such a weakness, like a lame weakness, which is just fire.
Fire, which is like anybody's weakness. Like
yeah, like realistically. Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe not Superman's, but still.
But like, anything can be. Batman can be burned by fire.
Yeah, like most physical things could be. I mean, I guess it's like the same thing with like Venom, where like his weakness is like fire and loud sounds.
Yeah,
but like at least Venom, I think it makes a little bit more sense because it's like an alien thing, and in outer space, there's not that much sound or fire. So I guess it's like makes sense for a symbiote, for an alien being.
He can shapeshift. He can turn invisible. He can like go through.
Yeah, he's like Superman with extra powers, essentially.
Yeah. It really breaks, because I love Martian Manhunter, but it really breaks my heart that like, how come we've never, like, he's never been popular enough to like have a really long ongoing series in the comics, or like even like reach that next level of like, because that reaches the next level of being like, as at least Shazam level of like, oh my god, he's cool, he's got all of these great stories and all of that. Like, yeah, he's always a supporting character in most of his history.
I guess it's just one of those characters that might be harder to write for because, like, kind of an inhuman character that doesn't really understand humanity. Even though that made for the Christmas episode was another episode I really liked from the Justice League. That was a really good episode.
When Superman goes like, "You mean Santa brought the presents?"
Yeah, it's just love that. And then also like Martian Manhunter, kind of like at least that episode for a bit kind of reaffirmed him and like why he protects Earth, even though that kind of gets shaky and unlimited later on, where he has to go rediscover why he's fighting for humanity. Which I feel like you could do a lot of great storylines of just that, but I think that would take more of a serious, I guess, writer.
Did you like the kids episode where they all turn into kids?
See, at first I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this episode, but it was actually a pretty fun episode.
Yeah, it was. Even I had the same interaction. I'm like, oh, they're kids. Oh, this is gonna be lame. But then there's a lot of cool character moments, like especially at the end when Wonder Woman's like, "Hey, man, being a kid was fun. What about you, Bruce? I haven't been a kid since I was 8 years old."
Oh yeah, I'm like,
I was like, oh god.
I'm like, shit. Okay. I guess for him that must be really dramatic.
Yeah. God. Oh.
I haven't been a kid since I was 8 years old. I'm like, oh shit, man, damn.
What'd you think of that pairing, Wonder Woman and Batman? Remember that scene on the roof where it's just like them talking, and Wonder Woman's like, "Oh, you maybe you need someone special in your life," and Batman's like, "Nah, it would just cause problems."
Yeah, it's like, the villains find out and then they try attacking them. It's like, oh, not me, I'm Wonder Woman. It's like, oh.
Oh, God. Oh, that show was so good. I love that show, bro.
Does that ever happen in the comics, or you don't know?
No. Okay, so in the comics, pre-New 52, which is when DC rebooted, like they had a big-ass reboot, they gave a little hint of Superman and Wonder Woman having a relationship, because obviously they're, the two most powerful people in the DC universe that are superheroes, two more but eventually they decide like no, because Diana has another love interest and Superman has another love interest, Lois Lane. Post New 52, they're a full-on couple.
Oh.
Yeah, they're a full-on. There's literally a book, Superman and Wonder Woman. They because they really wanted to make that happen. It didn't work. They went back to Superman and Lois, but it's Superman and Wonder Woman have been a thing in the comics. Never Batman Wonder Woman. There's another pairing which I don't like. I don't know why Bruce Timm is so insistent on it. It's really, I don't know why Bruce Timm really wants Batman and Batgirl to hook up.
Oh yeah, I remember that with the whole thing with Killing Joke.
Yeah, and Killing Joke happened. It even happened in the so Kyle Higgins, he wrote Batman Beyond 2.0, which is a sequel basically to Justice League and the Batman the Animated Series. There's a hint that Batman and Barbara Gordon hooked up, but they don't expand on it at all. It's like a very small hint in it. In the comics, they expand on it, and Batman full on impregnated. No, they didn't impregnate. My bad. They full on.
Oh, I was gonna say, oh dear. Oh.
Yeah. They fucked, and and this was when they were in relation, when Nightwing was in a relationship with her, or was it before? I can't remember. But Nightwing found out and punched Batman in the face, and left.
Yeah, it's just
because he was extremely pissed off, And
Yeah.
then also there's like they expand on the Justice Lords episode because they expand on there's a full on sequel to that in the comics of Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond has a lot of connections to Justice League now that I think about it. Yeah.
I mean, they did show up a couple times.
Yeah, they did show up a couple of times. Yeah. God, man, that show is so good. Probably my favorite DC show. Maybe when I watch it, Justice it'll change, but like right now, it is Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Oh, God, so good.
Justice. Yeah, the Justice League. That was a really good time. I'm glad I watched it now because I feel like I probably would have I appreciated it a lot more now than I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, true.
I mean, there's still a lot of those DC animated shows. Because like I've obviously watched like Batman the animated series, and I've watched a bit of Superman the anime. Well, see, I know I watched the full thing, but like besides like the first couple episodes, I don't have that much more memories of the Superman show. So that probably needs a rewatch. And then Batman Beyond, I just remember I had the movie on VHS, which like the Return of
the Joker,
which that's a really good movie.
Yeah, that is a really good movie. Yes. God.
The whole aesthetic of Batman Beyond is really cool. I think it's like probably one of the coolest, like looking.
Yeah, the electronics, like not cyberpunk, but like like the way their vision of the future with all the technology and stuff, and how like angular it is and stuff.
Yeah, and I think Batman Beyond's a really really cool costume.
That's my like in the because people always ask like, oh, who's going to take over the Batman mantle? For me, it's either my number one choice, Terry McGinnis, because of the show, and again, Batman Beyond, like Harley Quinn, another like. First came out in animation, then the comics.
Right.
Yeah. So it's either Terry McGinnis or one of the any of the Robins, to be standard. Like no, not any of the Robins. Either Tim Drake or Dick Grayson, one of the two. But I feel like Dick Grayson would be better as like still being Nightwing. But Tim Drake is who I want if it's not Terry McGinnis. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the comics have kind of accidentally shot themselves in the foot with that because of like Damian.
In the Batman Beyond comic, they talk about Damian, like what Damian did in the future.
What did he do?
If I remember correctly, he basically becomes Batman Beyond's Ra's al Ghul.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, exactly. So because
I guess it kind of makes sense with the fact that he has to be a Batman enemy. Is like, oh,
yeah, and also like Ra's al Ghul is Damian's grandfather. So
right, yeah. Like, I could see him maybe going back to the League of Assassins, but, like, I don't know, maybe with Batman's influence turn into something more positive. But, yeah.
So again, that also kind of shoots a hole in the foot, because, like, if a writer comes in to write Damian changing and stuff, I mean, I don't like Damian, so I don't care. But
yeah, I know a lot of people don't really like Damian. I haven't really gone that far with Batman comics, so I've actually never...
I haven't read it, but I have seen
Injustice
the movies.
game?
But even then, in the movies, I'm like, you are A, little shit. B, I don't like the idea of Batman having a blood son. I like him because he was adopted by Alfred, so now he's adopting Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, which was a mistake, but still there's a story and a lesson there, and the idea of building up a family without, and also you don't need so many Robins. Like, you could have stopped at Tim Drake. Like, 3 Robins is more than enough. Once you get to 4 Robins, it's like, eesh, okay. And then you have Signal, which is like basically a 5th Robin.
Yeah, like, the more that, I'm fine with the Robins. I'm fine with Batgirl. I'm not sure if Batwoman really has much to do with the Bat
She's kind
family.
of separate, but yeah, again, that's another Grant Morrison thing. Yeah.
I see, because I'm fine with Robins and Batgirl. After that, maybe even a Bat Dog. But after that, I'm kind of like, okay,
Ace the Bat Hound.
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, the Bat Hound. After that, I'm kind of like, you know what? I think that's enough. You don't need a whole.
I mean, right now I can tell you how many there are in Gotham.
Hope.
So you've got Batman, Nightwing, Tim Drake Robin, Damian Wayne Robin, Jason Todd Red Hood. So that's 5. You have Cassandra Cain Batgirl. You have Spoiler, which is another Batgirl. You have Barbara Gordon Batgirl. We're at 8. You have Huntress 9.
Oh, Huntress is also part of the Bat family?
She wants to be. Nobody else wants her.
Oh, okay.
Because she is part of a Gotham crime family. So that's why she operates in Gotham, but like Batman doesn't like her, and pretty much nobody else does it really. And then there's you have Batwoman, so that's 10. You have Catwoman, 11. Okay. Then we have other characters. You don't know them; they're only in the comic books, and they're very, very new. Like within the last year, new Ghostmaker, Clown Hunter.
Clown Hunter?
Yes, there's I don't know anything about it. Don't ask me. You can Google it. I don't know anything about it. I just know that exists.
Let me look up Clown Hunter. Okay, he looks kind of stupid. I'm guessing this is like a newer one.
This is new. I told you, like Ghostmaker.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I know it's new, like within the last year or 2 years, new.
Oh, okay. Because I've heard of Signal, but I've not heard of Ghostmaker or... Okay, Ghostmaker looks cooler.
Yeah, Ghostmaker looks cooler. Yeah, he does.
Ghostmaker almost looks like a character that Batman would be fighting.
He did fight.
Oh, okay.
The backstory for Ghostmaker is that he's a friend of Bruce Wayne's when he was in college, but then they went their separate ways, and he's mad at Bruce for some reason. I can't remember why. And he became Ghostmaker, and they fight. And he's like as good as Batman. Like their skills like match.
I forgot, is Ragman a character that's in the Bat family?
He is, but he's very small, and he's not really, like, he's very, like, almost Z tier, you could say.
I see, because I remember he showed up, he was like part of the Arrow family in the CW show.
What?
Yeah. Again, that Arrow TV show just wanted to be a Batman show so bad.
Okay.
Because, Ra's al Ghul was a villain.
Oh, yeah, Ra's al Ghul. And the
yeah.
Batman storyline for Green Arrow, where they're fighting on the snow, shirtless, with swords. Oh.
Yeah. Because I remember Ragman was in there for a bit, and I just remember thinking, like, that's such a bad name for a character.
I mean, he has bandages and rags all over him. What do you want?
I mean, I guess that would have been good as, like, the entry level, like, I saw him on the streets name until he actually makes a proper name for himself. Mm-hmm. You know, how, like, Arrow was just called Arrow until they're eventually the Green Arrow.
Yeah. So, that's there's, like, 12 vigilantes in Gotham, which is, like, that's a lot. Gotham should have, like, zero crime, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much a whole, like, syndicate thing.
Yeah, I think that's more than the Justice League, if I'm being honest. The 7 Justice League. Yeah, because the original 7. It's just 7. Yeah,
like that's enough to, like... Yeah, Gotham should be the safest place on Earth.
But it's not.
It's not,
like worse, probably.
Yeah, I don't know who would want to live in Gotham.
God.
Sky's red for some reason.
That's the show doing an artistic thing. Okay,
I just love that. It's like you go to Metropolis at night, it's a dark blue, black. You go to Gotham, it's blood red. It's like, what happened?
That's Gotham, baby. Yeah,
that's that Gotham magic, baby.
God, Gotham magic. God. Yeah. Oh, Jason Blood, by the way, the demon is also in Gotham.
Oh, really?
Yes, he lives in Gotham. Yeah. There's an episode where Batman,
that's the guy that turns into Etrigan, right?
Yeah, turns into Etrigan.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He faces something magical, and Batman's like, I don't know what to do with this. Let me go see Jason Blood about it to get help. Because again, like, magic is not his, like, thing. So he also operates there. But I don't know, like, because I haven't read the Demon comics, so I don't know how prevalent Etrigan is, but, like, him and Batman have had crossovers because they both do operate. Like, he lives in Gotham, so yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen him through, like, the Justice League Dark movie, and then he does show up in Young Justice in the newer seasons, and I'm like, let me, like, see what comics this guy has.
Young Justice?
Yeah, he's like, gone, flesh of man, let there be the demon. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Let me see if he has comics to himself. I go look him up on YouTube, and
very
like
few.
No one talks about him. Like, is there a run I could read? And it's like, nope. I'm like, oh.
Well, there's one series in the 90s, and then there's the Jack Kirby one, which is who created him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jack Kirby created it. I have the demon. I have the collection. I haven't read it yet, but yeah, because I love Jack Kirby art. So yeah, like Jack Kirby did create him.
So is the comic just called like the Demon?
Yeah, it just called the demon.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's where I was going wrong because I have to typing in Etrigan comic. Where to start?
It's just called the Garth Ennis wrote for the demon. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's a little terrifying. Just based off of what I've seen and heard from his work, I don't know. Oh God, that was so bad. So fucking bad.
Yeah. By the way, guess where? Remember Hitman?
Yes.
Yeah. He showed up in the first appearance, Demon Animal, because Garth Ennis was writing it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to. I mean, I heard he has a pretty good Punisher run because I do want to.
Yes, I want to read
check
that
out some
Punisher
Punisher.
run. Same. Yes.
I mean, I heard that's really good, but like, I also really like the costume of like early Punisher. So like,
with the black. Oh, the white
like,
gloves and the white boots and the white belt, or
yeah, like I kind of like that look, and I kind of like that, like, I don't know, at least from pictures and everything, it looks fun. I'm not sure how fun it actually is, but I don't know. Punisher is a very interesting character in a lot of morality-wise, considering he's not a character you necessarily root for at all.
yeah, but I think he has a place because, like, I think there's going to be a need or like a desire for stories where, like, what if a vigilante just didn't give a fuck? No shit's given.
Yeah, no, like I think he's a great character. There's people that look up to him as an influence. I'm like, no, that's not the point.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, like you should not look up to the Punisher at all.
Like, I mean, even with Batman, it's like, okay, look up to his achievements because as a human, he's achieved so much. Still an asshole and very like hyper controlling.
Yeah, like I feel like not only
like there's a reason
but like,
Nightwing exists as separately from him because like Nightwing doesn't have the flaws of Batman. Yeah,
yeah, like I feel Superman's more worthy of that kind of.
Yeah, same thing. Even Punisher says
reverence.
like, "Don't worship me, worship Captain America." If you have to,
right?
Him. Yeah,
yeah, Captain America is more worthy, or even Spider-Man to an extent. I mean, even though he's made dumbass things, but I honestly I don't feel that's Spider-Man's fault. That's just the powers that be.
Oh, and the situation he finds himself in. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost feel like the Parker look is BS. I'm like, no, that's just editorial. Editorial. Stop blaming it.
I mean, even Stan Lee, even when I was reading his like run of like early, like again, it always kind of ends up like something good happens, something bad happens.
See, I'm fine with that, but for everything I've been hearing from the comics, it just seems like despite it being like the bestseller, they just don't care about Spider-Man. Like apparently in the newest comic book, they completely forgot that care. Like
I think they can't help and like hyper control it, which like doesn't leave a lot of room for creative stuff. Yeah.
Well, no, see that's the thing. Apparently in the newest comic book, Spider-Man gets hit by Venom, and then Spider-Man in an internal monologue, it's like, oh, my spider sense should have picked up on this. And it's like, isn't the whole point of Venom is like you can't spider sense him?
Yeah, you can't spider sense him.
Yeah, yes. So everyone was like picking that apart. It's like, how did like this even get through the editor? It's like an established fact.
Yeah, because Venom was a part of
exactly.
Venom.
Yeah.
So the Spider-Man thinks like, oh, it's just me basically, so it doesn't pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah. But then Spider-Man's like, oh, I normally could have dodged this. I'm like, no, you couldn't.
Jeez. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's why when I'm reading Spider-Man, by the time I get to like the mid 2000s, I'm like, all right, I'm dropping off.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, all right.
I might like. There's a couple
after the Clone Saga.
Well, see, I'm not even sure if I want to read the Clone Saga. I listened to the back issues episode. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I might read that one good issue where apparently Aunt May dies, but it turns out it's an actor.
With facial reconstruction surgery.
That just agreed to die.
Oh God, man, that.
How would you pick up that role? It's like because even if they pay you, it's not like you're going to use the money. Oh, I guess if you have someone in need of the money,
yeah, someone in need of the money too, they give it to them.
But I'm pretty sure the comics don't give that person a whole backstory to really justify that plot line.
You want to know? That's the story you want to write. Who got that money from that actor lady? And are they a supervillain now?
It was Norman Osborn. No,
Boy.
it was the Jackal. I don't know.
Well,
Fucking,
yeah.
I don't know.
God. Should we end it here?
Yeah, we should probably end it here before we just start rambling on.
Yes,
I think we kind of did that a bit, but that's the beauty of this. Hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast, it's just in the background while you're doing something. But anyways, that was episode 4 of the PUNCHAST. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
See ya. Bye bye.